Weather Service in Raleigh. It's Nick Petro with your Tropical Storm Helene briefing as of 11:30 Wednesday, September 25th. And of course, we've had a few updates, including rain and maps, wind maps that we've included. So let me switch screens real quick, and we will jump over to this screen. I think everybody should be able to see this here, the latest advisory from the Hurricane Center. And the problem, of course, with this track is that, of course, we're on the east side of it. So two concerns there, the upslope flow and the onshore flow, lots of moisture. And of course, when you're right of the track, you end up in the tornado side of things. Also, look how spread apart those dots are with the track. You can see that it's a fast-moving storm. So it will quickly spin up, quickly intensify. You can see by 7 a.m. Thursday. So we're talking, what, less than 24 hours from now, it should be a major hurricane according to the National Hurricane Center. So, and of course, as always, while we're not in the cone, you know, by now we've mentioned this over and over again that you don't have to be in the cone to see impacts. So one thing I want to just draw your attention to, and look at the what I'm showing here is 24-hour rain, what has already fallen in the past 24 hours. And you can see that rainfall amounts, there's some pockets of 2 to 3 inch rainfall amounts. And not everybody got those 2 to 3 inch rainfall amounts. A lot of places, particularly across the northwest half of the state, have seen anywhere from a half to an inch and a half of rain. But clearly, this is going to be certainly setting the stage for what could be flash flooding with, I would say, rainfall amounts that normally wouldn't result in flash flooding. In fact, that's demonstrated here by the USGS measurement of real-time stream flow. And basically, the blue and black dots represent streams that are running very, very high, much higher, much above normal for this time of year. The green dots show streams that are running where they should be this time of year. And you'll notice the only places that are below normal are in the far southwest part of the state. So clearly we are primed, especially for those feeder tributaries that run into the Neuse Basin, the Cape Fear Basin, and even the Tar are really primed. So any of those tributaries into those main river systems will be primed for flooding, even with lesser rainfall amounts. So what I want to do is use one of our ensemble tools to demonstrate the timing, and then we'll get into the exactly how much. So one thing I want to point out, not only did we receive quite a bit of rain here in the last 24 hours, but as I step through each time frame, this is in 6-hour increments, and in the lower right, you can see the time frame that it's valid. So this is valid already, has already occurred, 2 a.m., 8 a.m., and this is 2 p.m. So, you know, the light shade of greens, we're talking very little, if any, rain. And what I want to draw your attention to are the darker shades of green. This is 8 p.m. tonight. So not only do we have to deal with the rain coming up with Helene, but there's already a moist pattern in place, a trough to our west that could set the stage for showers and maybe some thunderstorms that are disconnected and unrelated to Helene. So again, once again, setting the stage for this being a flash flood and heavy rain event when Helene does get here. So this is valid 8 p.m. and you can see the western half of the state is going to, you know, be pretty primed for some additional rainfall between now and 8 p.m. And as I move forward during the overnight period, this is valid 8 a.m. and you can see the mountains of North Carolina, and as you get up towards the Triad in central North Carolina, are particularly, we could see some heavier downpours and heavier rainfall amounts. You know, 3/4 to an inch of rain once you get up into the mountains is not uncommon here with the forecast. But as you get basically west of the US 1 corridor and north and west of the Highway 80, Interstate 85, you could see, you know, 1/4 to a 1/2 inch rainfall amounts. Again, we're talking not even related to Helene. As we move forward to the daytime Thursday, more rain spreading across the western half of the state, including the Triad and western Piedmont portions of central North Carolina. And then I'm just going to jump a few panels forward. And now you can see coming up from the southwest, look at those yellows and orange, basically representing higher rainfall amounts during that 6-hour period. So this is 2 a.m. Friday. This is 8 a.m. Friday. This is 2 p.m. Friday. And this is 8 p.m. Friday. And then by 2 a.m. Saturday, look how we're just left with some light rain. In fact, most places will be dry by this time frame. So just want to just basically use this as a timing guidance, timing, not necessarily amount guidance, but timing guidance. Let me back up one more time just to run through it. So the Helene specific rain, when is that going to be its heaviest? So basically here's 8 p.m. Thursday, 2 a.m. Friday, 8 a.m. Friday, and 2 p.m. Friday. So we're talking basically Thursday night through early Friday. All right, let me just take a look at the winds because that's another concern for wind gusts. And let me go ahead and put that on there for you. And again, don't necessarily focus so much on the values, but just that we're using this as a proxy for timing, okay? And I will point out this is an ensemble of some of our best models that we have running. And you can see, let me just jump right forward to the Helene related winds. There's 2 p.m. Thursday, 8 p.m. Thursday. There is 2 a.m. Friday, 8 a.m. Friday, 2 p.m. Friday, 8 p.m. Friday. And look how the winds really drop off between 8 p.m. Friday and 2 a.m. Saturday, and bouncing back and forth. There's 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. So 2 a.m. Saturday, okay? 8 p.m. Friday, 2 a.m. Saturday. So the worst of it is kind of right in this time frame. So 2 a.m. Friday, there's 8 a.m. Friday, 2 p.m. Friday, 8 p.m. Friday, and 2 a.m. Saturday. So we're talking again for both rain and wind, a Thursday night into Friday, probably late afternoon Friday event. All right. So when it comes to actual amounts, I want to draw your attention to this webpage, weather.gov/Raleigh/NC. These are statewide graphics. And when we just add up the next 3 days of rainfall, you can see basically for central North Carolina, it's really once you get east of I-95, we're only talking maybe up to an inch of rain. So for our friends in the coastal plain and points east, you're probably going to be okay. But remember that stream flow map. Streams are running way above normal, so even an inch of rain, if it happened in a short period of time, could result in flash flooding. Once you get west of the US 1 corridor, so we're talking, the triangle points west. I'll draw a little line here on the US 1 corridor just for folks who may not be as familiar. Once you get west of the US 1 corridor, things really ramp up in terms of rainfall amounts. We're talking, 1.5 to 2 inches of rain in this corridor here, and then once you get west of the Triad, things really, really ramp up, and the biggest problems with Helene and across the state of North Carolina will certainly be in the mountains where landslides and more dramatic flash flooding is expected. Okay, but again, so if we kind of just summarize, for central North Carolina, this is a 1 to about 3.5 inch rain event. But again, I keep going back to the stream flows. Those stream flows in that area are way above normal. So this amount of rain here, while on an ordinary situation with normal stream flows, I would not be concerned about. In this circumstance, I am. So back to our maps here, and if we go to wind, we can show you 3-day max wind gusts. And again, you could see that the highest winds will be in the highest terrain in the mountains. Certainly 50+ mile per hour wind gusts in the high terrain. But we do show some strong winds basically across the Triad, the Western Piedmont. And let me just grab my drawing tool here. And particularly one area that might need adjusted upward is right here where I'm circling along the South Carolina border. That area you may see trending upward in wind gust forecasts as we head through the next 24 hours or so. So I think we're going to see these numbers trend up. If you're north and east of Raleigh, you're probably going to be in best shape in terms of wind gusts. And again, as I pointed out, in the mountains, that's where it's going to be the worst. So, I heard reports even today with no wind at all of trees falling due to the wet ground. So, if you put a 30 mile per hour wind gust on roots that are soaked, those trees are going to come down. So I do expect quite a few power outages and widespread power outages once you get, west of the Triad. So keep that in mind. Don't be surprised if you're seeing wind gusts of 30, but you're seeing power outages. Quite a few of those. Don't be surprised. It's the wet ground that's basically giving us all of that. All right, so you're probably wondering, well, with all this rain, there's the rain again. How's that going to affect the rivers? Unfortunately, our official river forecasts don't go out far enough in time. They only account for 2 days worth of rain. So what we look at this is our ensemble forecast. So I'm just going to start furthest west on the Yadkin River Basin to show you what's possible in terms of flooding. This is the Yadkin River at Yadkin College, and the shaded blue is the most likely outcome. So minor flooding to maybe up against major flooding is possible on the Yadkin. Now, if we're experiencing or have a pretty decent potential for moderate to major flooding on the Yadkin, you can only imagine how bad the flooding is going to be further west in west of I-77. But for central North Carolina, certainly we are going to be involved in dealing with some flooding on the Yadkin. The Rocky River at Norwood is a very flashy river that will spike up pretty quickly. We're talking, at least minor flooding, but pretty decent. There's a lot of ensemble members there with even major flooding, so we'll be keeping our eye on that. Cape Fear Basin, you will definitely see some minor flooding at least. There's the Haw River, there's Bynum, there is the Deep River at Moncure, there's a little river at Manchester, which there are some members that show it getting close to minor flooding, but clearly the further west you go, the worse the flooding is going to be. At Fayetteville, you're probably going to be okay. We'll just cover the Neuse River to wrap this up, and clearly further east you go, the less likely for river flooding. There's Clayton. Most of the members, at least the bulk of the members, are below flood stage. Smithfield, kind of the same story, but at some point, I wouldn't be surprised to see some minor flooding because Falls and Jordan are going to capture what Falls for the Neuse will capture a lot of that rain coming from the west. So at some point, that's going to have to be released. So that's Smithfield and Goldsboro. So again, I wouldn't be surprised, again, given those high stream and river flows that are already undergoing, that we're going to be dealing with at least minor flooding on much of the Neuse River. Okay, so let me go back to my slides here and we'll wrap this up. Bear with me here for just a second. All right, so taking you through a few of the slides here. We've already discussed that, and we've discussed the impacts. I do want to point out here, we've already talked about the rainfall amount and the max wind gusts. Again, this graphic here is our excessive rainfall outlook. It highlights the areas that have the greatest risk for flash flooding. And suffice it to say, with all the rain across the western half of the state, that's where the greatest risk for flash flooding will be. But notice on Friday, we have in the entire state in a marginal risk. And again, no surprise given those stream flows. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the tornado threat with us being on the east side of the storm. And, some of those outer bands may sneak up here as late as Thursday evening. So if you notice the green shading there for the level 1, the marginal risk, that is basically more geared timing wise for late Thursday night. But on Friday, notice how basically all of central North Carolina is in a level 1 severe risk, and that will be due to the outer rain band tornado threat. Again, keep in mind how far the center of the storm will be to our west. It'll be over the Tennessee Valley, but we're still close enough. Again, another example of how you don't have to be in the cone for impacts. So there you go. Basically, all of central North Carolina will see that tornado risk on Friday. All right. So wrapping it all up, we're closely monitoring Helene. And of course, rain, wind, isolated tornadoes are all possible as early as Thursday night, most likely through Friday. Similar to the previous systems we've had this summer, the main hazards will be flash flooding and downed trees, scattered power outages, and that'll be possible from Thursday night through Friday. And then beyond that, we'll be looking at all that river going into the main stem river system. River flooding potential should be mainly confined to the main stem rivers west of I-95, but obviously we'll be keeping an eye on that and giving you any updates as needed. So our next slide set will be, you'll definitely have that in your inbox by 6 p.m., probably sooner. And we have another one of these webinars, same time, same place, 11:30 tomorrow morning. So that wraps up our briefing for today.